One of our jobs, believe me, brothers and sisters, is to make this word so clear that we end all the people's excuses. Because I'm telling you, beloved, you know, I was talking to a young man recently, and he was decrying the fact that he don't really like religion because some of the religionists that he's met, they're telling him some stuff about come this way into religion, and if you don't, you're going to hell. That's right. And I could understand why the young man rejected that foolishness. See, because this ain't a day, beloved, to try to compel people into something based on fear. That's right. But this is the day to give people an opportunity to make a choice. So the scripture says, this day I show you two signs. One of life and one of death. And I advise you to choose life. But understand the law of cause and effect. Whatever we do in this life is a cause and ultimately has an effect. And there is no escape for nobody. You can't say, oh, I didn't know the laws of gravity when I jumped off of the top of that building, and so therefore I expected to just land and bounce or something like that. Go ahead. We can't use those types of excuses, beloved family. And so this subject is designed to, once and for all, put an end to our excuses when it comes to health and wealth. Because if we continue to be unhealthy, then we can't walk around moping and moaning and crying that we are without wealth. The two things go together. And the enemy is working 24 hours, 7 days a week, overtime, to keep us unhealthy. The pig, every single aspect of the pig is used in one form or another. Look, beloved brothers and sisters, this animal, this creature, is something that we must avoid, because we are what we eat. Why do you think when you drop the bacon in the hot frying pan, the bacon starts dancing? It's one of the only foods that when you drop it in the pan, it will start bouncing around. It will start moving and frizzling and making a noise. It is because in every square inch or every square centimeter of that foul flesh, it is absolutely saturated with that which is called the strychnine worm. Black people, you tell black people this, they disbelieve. Why do they disbelieve? Because they can't see a big worm going like that. But this worm has the same configuration of that which is called sperm. And when you see sperm, the Holy Quran describes sperm as a cloudy drop of water. And when you see sperm, it can have the consistency of spit. Not much to look at. But when you take a microscope and you look into the sperm, then you see these little tadpoles. Well, this strychnine worm is of that same magnitude or size. It is microscopic, invisible to the naked eye, but nevertheless, they exist. Did you know that they put pig in your soap? That's why you can't just go and just buy any old soap in the shop, beloved. You got to make sure that you read those ingredients and make sure that you're getting something clean and based on nature and not necessarily animal based.
There you go.
Did you know that they put pork byproducts in your toothpaste?
Come on.
It always makes me shake my head when I see in the summer months, the months that we're currently in now, when Mr. Jingles, the ice cream man, shows up. And I see Muslims and Christians and running to the ice cream van with their children and getting their cones and having no idea that part of the process of that slimy, sticky ingredient that keeps all of that thing together is more often than not pork. Not plant-based, but animal-based pork. Some so-called West Indians, when we were growing up, and even to this day, them love what they call bully beef. And of course, beef is supposed to be from the cow. But what they don't have the knowledge of is that sticky, white, pasty stuff that keeps that bully beef together is pure pork fat. I want you to think today, beloved. In some instances, they call that lard.
That's right.
Lord of mercy upon my soul. Lard is pure pork fat. Some of us love to go down to the local patisserie to get our croissant. But you see, a lot of these people, when they're cooking, you see, to use butter, pure butter, is very expensive. Because butter that comes from the cow is a natural and good product. When it's clean, grass-fed cows, and you get that good milk, and then you churn it and you make that pure butter, best butter. Beautiful. Honorable Elijah Muhammad said, eat plenty of butter. Good for you. All this stuff about high cholesterol. Don't listen to these demons. Butter in its pure form is good. But the devil won't use that because it's too expensive. But lard, pork fat, is cheap. And he'll have a big old drum of it. And that's what he's slapping into that ingredient to knead it together to produce your croissant, to produce your fairy cake. Recently, I've been going into the supermarkets to get a few bits and pieces here and there, and I just like to pick up things and read ingredients. And I was looking at bread. My wife makes all our bread at home. Praise be to Allah. But I was just looking at bread, and I was looking at bread rolls, baps, and these other things, and every single one of them, there was a common ingredient: rapeseed oil. I mean, what is this? But it's like these manufacturers, they go through, there's an agreement. I want you to understand something. Did you know that the food industry in the United Kingdom comes under the Official Secrets Act?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Look it up for yourself.
Yes, sir.
Do your research. Why would the food industry come under the Official Secrets Act?
Well,
why is it a secret that you can't know the ingredients, total ingredients of your food? And why is so much of it coded in so-called E numbers? You need to look up these E numbers, beloved, these ingredients that's coded in these E numbers. I want you to imagine a creature. Those hairbrushes that we buy, by the way, these are often the bristles of the pig.
well,
Hairbrushes, beloved. They use every part of it. In cigarette manufacture, a lot of the cigarette filters, they filter through the bones of pork. There's a process. There's no escape if you're not prepared to read ingredients and to make sure that what you put into this precious vessel, this house of God, understand that when we are full of this divinely prohibited flesh and its byproducts, God leaves. I want you to hear me, beloved. God is not a spook. God is the energy of electricity that occupies every cell of our being. And when the cells of our being become dirty, the electricity of God can no longer function and make the appropriate connections of electrical conduction.
Teach, bro. Teach.
So we become devoid of energy, the energy of God. This is real. We ain't dealing with no spooks here.
Straight up.
I want you to imagine a creature that in its forelegs there is a sewer pipe. This is the pig. In its two front legs there is an open sewer pipe at the end of the hooves that is continuously oozing pus. Those of you who have had the misfortune historically to touch pork, you know, when you touch a gammon steak or a slab of bacon, why do you think it's so slimy? Why do you think it has that texture? It's putrefying, and it's pus that comes to the surface of the skin. This is some ugly, ugly meat, beloved. And they put it in everything to catch out the unsuspecting consumer that you become dirty or unclean and unacceptable to God.
Wow.
This is Satan. That strychnine worm, it's almost indestructible. It's not, because it's microscopic, it lays dormant in flesh, in the flesh of the pork. And when you fry it, it comes together like a cyst, and it just becomes solid. When you eat it and it goes into the stomach acids, the acids revive it and wake them up. And they work their way through the stomach lining into the base of the spine. They work their way up the spine, and then they go off into the various regions of the body. But the number one place that they like to reside is right here in the stem of the brain.
Teach, bro.
A lot of people today, beloved, you see, when we get a little age and we start, there's an imperceptible kind of little shake that's going on. Let me tell you something, beloved. That person is having their brain eaten away because of the consumption of this strychnine worm. Some of us are complaining that we got arthritis because we got all these pains in our joints. Arthur ain't got nothing to do with it. But it's got everything to do with the infestation of this worm. Some of us, the white of our eyes are no longer white. They're brown and red. The worm is in the eyes. I mean, this worm is deadly. And people are dying on this planet every day. I'm not talking about hundreds, I'm talking about thousands and millions of people die every day, and they're dying from trichinosis or the disease of the strychnine worm, but they're never told why they died. On the death certificate, it's some other cause.
That's right. Teach, bro.
But the wicked scientists of this world, they know what the killer is. We're now major consumers of alcohol. We're talking about health and wealth today. Did you know that alcohol is a poison? One of the main components or ingredients in alcohol is something called ethanol. Ethanol. And the enemy will tell you that when you consume ethanol or alcohol in moderation or moderate amounts, it's not toxin. This is what the enemy will tell you. He is a damn liar. It is all toxin. And when you consume large enough quantities of alcohol, you then get what's called alcohol poisoning. It's a poison, beloved. And the higher the dose or the more you drink, because you know, people now, I mean, you know, with the Caucasians, they built special drinking houses called pubs. I was explaining, I think, to the brothers just yesterday, that one day I was driving in my vehicle and I saw a man staggering. He was evidently very, very drunk. And this man was staggering along the pavement. The man could hardly stand up and he was stumbling and staggering. And then I saw the man just stagger into a pub. I thought he had left the pub. He was on his way to the pub. I said, my God, in my mind I said, no. And I wonder if they're going to serve him. I want you to think about something that you would deliberately put into your body that would impair your abilities. I want you to understand the word repair and the word impair. To repair is to fix. To impair is to break. See, to be an able-bodied person, imagine you're going to put something in your system now that's going to impair your abilities, make you disabled. Because that's what you do when you drink alcohol. You're deliberately saying, I want now to be disabled. See, we're going to end all the excuses. I've got no sympathy.
Teach, bro. Teach. Teach.
Go ahead, bro.
Wow.
Not only does it impair your abilities, but it also lowers your inhibitions. Think about this, beloved. Imagine all those women and girls who wake up with their clothes rearranged. Think about it, beloved. God Almighty. I don't even know. My brother shouted out, and men. Because the devil is so wicked that he wants us to say, oh, you should be able to get drunk and not be raped. He creates a culture of disability. He creates a culture of non-accountability. And then he says, you should be held accountable. You see, look, imagine the devil. This is the world we live in, where the speed limit here is 70 miles an hour. What does it say on the clock of the motor car? 140?
160.
150, 160?
180. Depending on what car you have.
Did you know that Almighty God Allah obeys his own laws? Did you know that God is not a lawbreaker? He makes laws. These are called universal principles and laws. And the Creator lives within his own laws. And he made laws for human beings in terms of how best we can grow and develop and achieve our maximum potential. The laws that he puts in place, they are not to restrict our growth and our development and our ability to become our very best. In the Nation of Islam, some of us get scared when we hear restrictive laws. But the restrictive laws we're taught are our success. How can a law make you successful?
Teach.
Oh man, brothers and sisters. See, in slavery, the enemy was so draconian in terms of the laws that he placed on black people. There was a law of reckless eyeballing, where you couldn't look at a white man in the eye without losing your life. There was a law that said if we ran away, that was a crime. If we ran away from slavery, that was a crime. And you could be punished by death. You could be punished by having your foot chopped off.
Yes, sir.
And a lot of these laws were for the benefit of white people and for the detriment of black people.
That's right.
So there was a lot of laws that just kept us working for no pay for hundreds of years and no benefit to ourselves but detriment to ourselves, and where you had a lifespan, the average lifespan was maybe 20, 25 years old if you were lucky under that regime. So when they said in around 1833, 1834, 1838 that black people were now emancipated or free, see, a lot of us took that to mean free from any laws. But yes, we are to free ourselves from the falsity and the draconian nature of the white man's laws, but nobody is free from the laws of God.
Teach.
The laws of God are not to the detriment of the human being. The laws of God are designed to elevate the human being and take the human being to their highest level and their highest potential.
Teach, bro. Teach. Teach.
The blinkers that you put on a horse in a race is not to
Focus.
deter or to the detriment of the horse. It's to make the horse a winner
Focus.
by stopping the horse from being distracted, because some horses they get distracted by the crowd, or they get distracted, and the trainers of the horse, they're intelligent enough to observe the horses. So you see some horses don't need blinkers because they're focused. Other horses they want to start looking around and going off and doing something else, so they've got to blinker them so that they can be winners as well.
Focus.
The laws that are given to us by God are to just keep our focus in the right area of success. These prohibitions against poison animal flesh and poison drink like alcohol are not negative prohibitions, but they are prohibitions to give us life, and life in more abundance. While the enemy's job is to produce death. Have you read your Bible? That rider of the pale horse, what's his name? Death. And wherever he goes, death follows. Come on, man. The enemy has set an alcohol level, which he says is acceptable, which is 0.08 is the legal intoxication level. But according to the research, anything lower than that is still poison. I'm trying to explain to you that this is poison regardless of, you see, think about the devil. See, he sets a limit to say, below this it's not poisonous, but above this is poisonous. And it's just a trick to make you think there's an acceptable level of poison that you should consume. Well, guess what? You shouldn't consume any poison if you can help it. So when they walk into the pub, the bartender will say, "What's your poison?" It's not an accident. He knows what he's selling. So, alcohol damages the liver. The liver is the number one clearer of toxins. The liver is very powerful, and it can deal with some poison. But when you are a serial drunkard, alcohol abuser, when you're drinking the way people in this world drink, and some of the things that they're drinking, because you got to remember, some of us in the Caribbean, we pride ourselves on white rum, which is what's called overproof. Some of us pride ourselves on literally consuming, we call it fire water. The more it burns our throat out, and the more it makes us instantly feel dizzy. Yeah, man, that's a good thing that. Imagine how ignorant we've become. Yeah, that's a good poison, because look, I'm in trouble. My God, forgive them, Lord, for they know not what they do. We spend so much time crying about our terrible condition, not realizing that we are, more often than not, the number one abuser of our own self.
Teach, bro. Teach.
The liver, beloved, is something that you can overwork to the point where it stops doing its job. And at that point, you are in deep, deep trouble.
Yes, sir.
They say that over time, heavy drinking makes the organ of the liver, makes it fatty. And it gets thicker and creates more fibers. It becomes fibrous. And that fiber builds up to the degree where toxins can no longer be filtered by that organ, so it becomes a useless organ. Your blood flow becomes limited. And this is now a race towards death. This restriction of the work of the liver then causes other cells in the body to become intoxicated to the degree where the toxins start to really take over the living system of the body, and death ensues. This is what we're doing when we're they give nice names to the poisons. Courvoisier. We're really silly people, Yeah, Southern Comfort. It's a comfort to you. And people drink alcohol because it's very comforting when you drift off, because your faculties are no longer alive. It puts you to sleep. It makes some of us violent because it lowers inhibitions. And inhibition is something that that particular arena or that particular area or that particular behavior is not conducive to your dignity or your well-being. But having consumed alcohol, all of a sudden you will find yourself doing that thing that you would never have dreamt of doing had you remained sober. Had you been sober-minded. But now your whole mind has been so affected. These people, they go on holiday, they go to Ayia Napa, and they get some down in Tenerife, and all hell breaks loose, beloved. People wake up from sexual encounters the next day and wonder, who's that laying next to me? I mean, think about it, beloved. Did you know that things that they thought that they had eliminated in the 60s and the 70s, some of these sexually transmitted diseases, do you know that they're on the rise again? And they're not telling the public about gonorrhea and chlamydia and syphilis and other really nasty diseases that once you contract them, the chances of you being able to eliminate them from your system are becoming less and less, because a lot of the antibiotics that they were using, the bodies have now become immune to the antibiotics. They've got adverts now where they're warning people against using antibiotics too much, because they're saying, well, they don't work anymore. Alcohol kills your brain cells. Let me say this to you. You know when you have a bath and you get that brown ring around the bath? Some of it is dirt, but some of it is skin cells. The skin cells that you've got on your hand today are not the skin cells that you had on your hand 2 days ago or last week. They're different cells. These cells are constantly reproducing. You know, we look at things and we think this is solid. It's not solid. Right now, if there's a camera that you can get that you could point at this and you will see it vibrating, because it's a multiplicity of atoms vibrating and molecules that keeps this looking solid, but it's actually vibrating energy.
Yes, sir.
We are the same.
Yes, sir. Teach.
And we're constantly changing and renewing. And by the way, family, for those of us who yet feel contaminated, I think it was our beloved brother, Dr. Abdul Alim Muhammad, who taught us that all of our cells, all of our organs within our body, they are completely renewed every 7 years. Every 7 years. So if you could get clean and stay clean for 7 years, the chances are that in 7 years' time, you could have a new heart, you could have a new set of lungs, you could have new kidneys, you could have new pancreas, you could have a new stomach, gut lining, you could have new everything if you remain clean, because God is so magnificent. Have you ever seen those creatures like a lizard that you can chop off its tail and then the tail will grow back? Did you know that we have those same regenerative properties within us? We do, beloved. Do you wonder why as a baby, as a child, you lose teeth and then those teeth are reproduced? How is it that we get to a certain age where we lose that ability to reproduce that which we've lost? It is because of degeneration as opposed to regeneration. We have the ability to regenerate if we stay in the mold of God.
Teach.
And we stay attached and in tune to the real energy and vibration of God. But this world, it is described in scripture as being born in sin and shaped in iniquity. Some people over the years, they've misinterpreted that, thinking that it's sex that it's talking about. Born in sin, meaning sin is sex is a sinful act. No, it's not talking, nothing to do with sex. Being born in sin means being born into a world that's sin-based. This world is not a world that was built or made by God. This is a world that was built and made by the Caucasian, by the man of sin. A man that was made specifically to produce sin. A sin that was a part of the original man, that the original man needed to bring under dominion or control. But in order for the original man to recognize the sin that lay within, it had to be brought out and made to live, given form and expression. I love the way you help me out.
Teach.
And that side of us produced a world like this. Not for us to walk around crying and moaning, oh, it's so terrible. But for us to understand, oh, okay, that's what that side of me can do. And that's why I have to bring that side of me under total control. Never to raise its ugly head again. That's why we had to suffer so long under a system like this, a system of sin and inequity or inequality. A system, beloved, all praise is due to Allah. A system that is designed to bring human beings down instead of elevating human beings to their optimum potential. It is designed to bring the human being down to his and hers most base condition. Alcohol kills your brain cells because, and listen to this, we discussed the fact that the cells are constantly reproducing. Which cells do you think don't reproduce? The only cells in your body that do not reproduce, and every time you lose one, that's it, and they're constantly getting less and less and less, is your brain cells. And when you drink alcohol, oh my God, you are now accelerating the loss of the cell that never reproduces. Did you know that as you get older, you're supposed to get wiser?
Teach.
Did you know that your knowledge as you mature in life is supposed to increase? And wisdom is supposed to become the order of the day the more elderly you become? But today what you find is the complete opposite. The older people get, the dumber they get. Because they're drinking throughout their life, killing, accelerating the loss of the most precious cells, the thinking cells. And by the way, all of the cells of the body think. I just need you to appreciate that as well. These are all thinking cells, but these think the most. These are the master thinking cells. But all of the cells have the capability to think. Look, beloved family, alcohol damages sperm. When I see young people in particular drinking, I think, oh my God, if only you knew what you were doing. The alcohol damages the head of the sperm. And what happens then when you produce children is that those children are born with defects based on the damage done to the sperm. Alcohol damages the female egg. Just letting people know so that when you do it in the future now, you can't make the excuse that you never knew. Because a lot of people before the coming of Master Farad Muhammad, believe me, a lot of people had an excuse. Because no one was really teaching the profound nature of what life is, what the purpose of life is, where life originated, and where life ultimately is going. No one was teaching that. The Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad is supremely special because of the mission that he took on to enlighten human beings for the first time in 66 trillion years about the nature and the identity of God. And that God is man. And it's in specifics represents the original man. And that the black woman is the other, not the other side, but the co-creator with God. And that she, in fact, is the secret of God. And that she produces God. Who is she? Who is she? There's so much disrespect today of the woman, and in particular the black woman. But beloved family, we have to understand that when you see a drunk woman, you're looking at an abomination.
Teach.
You're looking at a monstrous thing. When you see, especially the black woman, when you see her staggering, when you see her dropping that bacon into the frying pan, when you see her becoming a feeder of poison to her husband and her family, that's called corrupting the earth. The earth has become a corrupted thing. Did you know that the woman is representative of the earth? That's why it's called Mother Earth. Because that is where the life comes from. That's where the regeneration of everything comes from. And when you corrupt the earth, when you destroy the earth, because right now the earth is being poisoned. All these pesticides, all of these, you know, they dig up the uranium, they then nuclearize it, and then they throw it back into the ocean. You know, they're like children. You do understand that you're dealing with a 6-day-old child with the Caucasian, don't you? This man is destructive, and he's not always destructive based on just wanton destruction. He's also destructive based on ignorance. He don't know. The wise among them know, but the vast majority of them, I think Brother Michael mentioned in the study guide, the 85% haven't got a clue. Have not got a clue about what they do and the effects of what they do on the planet and on the people of the planet. They are destructive by nature, and they are today, beloved family, producing tremendous harm based on the consumption of these foods and these liquids that we now take for granted. And people, when it's a celebration, the first thing people got to run out and buy their alcohol. They've got to run out, you know. And I think even at Christmas, isn't one of the staples a big lump of pork? What do they call that? Ham. And they give it a multitude of names. And the reason why they give it a multitude of names is to hide the true identity of what you're consuming. And so you will hear ignorant people say, I don't eat ham, I eat spam. Some people will tell you they don't eat pork, but then you'll see them with a pepperoni. Some people will tell you that they don't eat pork, but like I said, you see them with that ice cream. Some people will tell you they don't eat pork, but you'll see them, they're constantly chewing. Wrigley's. One of the major ingredients in that chewing gum is pork. And that's what gives it its masticating ability, that chewing ability, because it's full of that gristly pork byproduct. The devil is wickedly wise. And so, beloved, as I begin to wind this up, I really want us to appreciate that our health is critically important. And it's directly related to our wealth. And when you are healthy, you are truly wealthy. You know, there's a scripture that says in that day, the people will give up all of their wealth just to have good health. That tells you something. See, imagine a man who is sick and he needs a heart transplant or a kidney transplant or a lung transplant. Do you understand that we live in a world right now where the harvesting of people's organs is real? Have you heard how so many black women are going missing in the world? Have you heard about the black children who are going missing in the world? And some of when they find the bodies, all of the organs are missing. Do you understand that there are rich people who are ordering body parts and organs, and that there are people who are going out and getting those parts by any means necessary? Say it again. It's not just a rumor about it going on in Israel. It's been proven and shown that this is happening in Israel. It's been shown that this is happening in Libya. Since they destroyed Muammar Gaddafi and the revolution, they have set up camps where they put black people, herd black people into these camps, and they are murdering them and stealing their body parts and selling them to the highest bidders. This is real, beloved. The enemy don't want us to talk about things like this. He wants us to think of him as being a God besides God. And we are taught as Muslims that we should fear no one and nothing but God, but Allah. But the enemy is trying to make the members of the human family afraid of him. They showed something recently, one of the brothers posted, that they're now trying to, or they've already created or produced these little miniature drones that now they can fly at a target, a human being. The drone can come close to your head and then it fires or it itself just explodes into your head or fires a bullet or a pellet or some other projectile into your head, and that's basically you dead. And this thing could be the size of a butterfly or some insect or something like that. But you see, beloved, let me tell you something, man. I really want you to understand something, beloved. See, even when we circulate this type of thing around the place, a lot of our people get fearful. Oh, well, boy, I better be careful. I better not say this. I better not do that because the enemy is so powerful. See, do you understand that most of us have become worshippers of the devil? And we think Satan is so bad. Let me tell you, man, you see, our God makes Satan look like a little chimp. He's a chimpanzee. All praise is due to Allah. All praise is due to Allah. Satan is a chimpanzee swinging through the trees in his primitive technology. I want you to hear me. Our God has the ability to direct Satan's very brain cells. The devil can't do nothing without Allah's permission. And the devil, by the way, his time to rule the people on the planet is up. He has no more power other than the power that we give him by our acquiescence to him, by thinking that he's powerful. He ain't powerful. He's a chump. He's a chimp. A monkey. That's what I mean by when I say chimp and monkey and chimpanzee. He's a monkey in terms of his technology. He's got a little drone that he's now going to use, a little drone to kill people. He's got microwave, cold wave weapons. He's working on all kinds of deadly weapons to kill his perceived enemies. But his number one enemy is God himself. And all we got to do is line up with the living God. Line up with the God. And he is sufficient to protect the righteous. If God be for you, the scripture asks the question, who can be against you? Nobody can be against you, beloved. No weapon forged against the righteous will prevail. Understand this. The devil is a bluffer. And we got to call his bluff. We say, do your worst. The Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan said, I ain't going to run from you. I'll run to you, Satan. And say, do what you want to do. Leave no stone unturned in your devilishment, in your evil. Because we don't believe in evil. We believe in righteousness and we believe in God. And let the devil do what the devil does. But don't worry about that. Worry about your cleanness and your righteousness, your healthiness, which will make you wealthy. What do you mean wealthy? When you're wealthy, man, you got power. I ain't talking about robbing nobody. We ain't talking about that kind of wealth. See, that kind of wealth makes you dirty. Do you understand that, beloved? When you steal other people's property and you accumulate wealth based on theft and murder, that's filthy. But when you become wealthy, first and foremost, because you have a healthy thought. When you have a clean mind, guess what you got? You got a clean body. No contaminants. No poisons, no poison thought, no poison blood, no poison touch. Have you ever heard of the Midas touch? Everything he touches turns to gold. Oh man, did you hear when I was teaching one day and I said to you that as believers, when we walk, plants should grow up after we pass? You don't understand your power. You have that kind of power, believers. That's the kind of power you got. Where when you walk, you bring life. When we go into this world, when we go, people should see life. People should say, oh, I want some of that life. I want what she's got. I want what he's got. But we can't manifest that or get that unless we appreciate what it means to cultivate health, and understand what health is. Why do you think these devils are constantly battling over something called a National Health Service? And why they say that no politician, be they Labour or Conservative, will ever openly even suggest the demise or the destruction of the National Health Service, because that's political suicide. Because people understand that health is the prerequisite for a successful society and a successful world. The enemy knows this. Do you understand that the enemy deliberately attempted to make our minister ill? Make him sick? Yeah, he did. Because that's how you end life, by producing illness or ailments or uncleanness. within the person, either mentally or physically. They couldn't do it to the minister mentally, and so they attacked him physically. But the minister is protected by a God. And even though we may have to suffer a little, because some suffering is redemptive. I just need to say that because maybe we think that, as believers, we ought not to suffer anything. But there is tremendous learning in suffering. There is some learning in it, beloved. Anytime you find yourself suffering, you ought to ask yourself, what's the lesson in this? Don't let the suffering just pass and you don't learn what it is you're supposed to learn. Some of us get all shaky when we have to go into that dental chair, that dentist chair. But then we forgot. The lesson was, or the teaching was, brush your damn teeth after you've eaten that sugar or drank that sugar. Because when you leave that sugar on that enamel overnight, it eats enamel. That's the nature of sugar. It attacks hard substances like bone and teeth. And it will make a hole, a cavity, for Satan to enter, Satan being the drill. And that drill is too close to your ear and to your brain. You can hear it.
Annoying.
There's a lesson, beloved. Prevention is what? Oh my God. All these teachings, all these warnings that are given to human beings from Scripture, these prohibitions, it's to stop us having to go to the cure. The cure oftentimes being more painful. Did you know that some breaks in bone breaks that people suffer, did you know that in order to fix the broken bone, sometimes they've got to break it worse? It's not just a case of, the bone's broken, let me just put a splint on it. Sometimes it's so broken that they've got to do what's called reducing it, which is to pull it apart even more to then reset it. I'm closing, beloved family. It's critically important as we go forward that we understand that our health is going to be fundamental to our success in producing a nation. And when we go to our people who mostly are sick today, we live in a sin-sick world. Don't even approach our people like they're healthy. Approach our people knowing first and foremost you are approaching a sick man and a sick woman. So don't be surprised what comes out of them, as you shouldn't be surprised what comes out of some of us, because some of us, we ain't cured yet. we're in the doctor's surgery. Some of us are on the operating table right now. And if we think, I'm going to discharge myself. So some of us are stupid like that, Pull out all the things out of our arm, the drip. I'm discharging myself. Where's my clothes? My grave clothes, that is. And we're running out half naked out of the hospital. Half cut, half learned. Half the medicine.
Half repaired.
There you go. Only to become even sicker. Because we have to stay the course. Do you know how many of us go to the doctor and he gives us, not that I'm advocating their prescriptions, but they'll give us, you need to take these for 14 days. In the meantime, no alcohol, no this, no that, no the other. We take them for 10 days, feel really good, feel better, then we don't take the other 4 for the next 4 days. That's a mistake. If you're going to submit to that and that's what they're giving you, you better follow it through. This race is not for the swift, nor for the strong. A brother joined us one day, came into the Nation of Islam. Great little fighter, tremendous little fighter. And he began cursing Muhammad Ali, saying, yeah, he dropped out of the nation. I stopped him, I said, brother, be quiet, please, be quiet. Don't do that. You can't even carry the boots of Muhammad Ali. See, he was coming in strong. Within 2 days, he was gone. See, the race is not to the swift nor to the strong, but for those who can endure to the end. We are in an endurance race. Our ancestors, the line of people that caused you to be sitting in this chair today, there was a whole line of black people that went before you. That's why you're sitting there now. You didn't come into this via osmosis. But those people who are in your line, they never gave up. They suffered, they fought, they bled, they died. All praise is due to Allah. So any of us who are looking for an easy life, we are insulting the memory of our ancestors. There has to be some sacrifice. There has to be some change in our behavior when it comes to this lifestyle, or should I say death style, that many of us have adopted. And it's fundamental, basic things like just what we put into this mouth. Sisters, these hair creams that you put on your head, it's too close to your brain for you to ignore the ingredients. Your skin, your body is a breathing organ all of itself. Anything you put on it, it sucks it in. And it has an effect. So we got to be careful, beloved. We got to listen to that word, careful, full of care when it comes to our personal health. Because that's how you will cultivate personal wealth. There's a day coming, beloved, when the healthy man will be sought out. They'll come looking for you and me and us, because that's going to be their model of how they might be able to get back. So we can't be today Muslims consuming willy-nilly foolishness that this devil produces, and not understand that there's a severe consequence to our health and our wealth. In order to even accumulate this fiat money in this world, which is really worthless. Even to accumulate that, you have to have a brain to be able to think out of the traps that the enemy has laid for us to produce and reproduce and maintain poverty. And we can't think our way out if we are not taking care of our capacity to think.
Think about it.
You got to fast, beloved family. You got to learn fasting. Learn to go without food for a protracted period of time. Be it a day. 1 meal a day is what we're supposed to eat in the Nation of Islam. Some of us are still getting up and having breakfast. We're crazy people. We're crazy. Then we wonder why we can't be successful. We wonder why we keep struggling. Wonder why we're tired all the damn time. Because we say one thing from our lips and then we do another. 1 meal a day. Very simple. Fast 3 days in every month. The first Thursday of every month. That's our last meal. That evening until Sunday we eat again. If you do that, just that alone, what it will give you in terms of your body and your energy and your skin clearing up, and you start looking good. Let me tell you something, man. We've been given science. Science. And just because your mother or your brother or your uncle or some so-called friend out there on the street say, man, you're crazy, man. Have one of these, mate. Because some of us got white friends. Go on, mate. Have one of these, mate. What? You only eat one meal a day? Oh, bloody hell, mate. You're crazy, mate. Some Australian cockney. Stop following the advice of idiots, beloved. Follow the advice of God. Be obedient to God. Be obedient to life. Choose life. Choose life over death. And one of these days, we will be the winners. This is the road that we're on. And so, beloved, I pray. By the way, just very quickly, because I didn't touch on this, but just very quickly, smoking. That's one of the worst ones. And the enemy is now moving to legalize weed.
Teach, brother, teach.
And some of us are excited. Go ahead, devil. Woo! That's a big trick. Understand that the human body and smoke is not compatible. That's why if you walked out there right now, there's a burning tire, the first thing you do is you don't want to breathe that in. Well, all smoke is like that. It's not compatible with the soft tissue and the living flesh of a living, breathing human being. And it's another thing that destroys brain cells. And it's another thing that contaminates and makes the body toxic. Don't do it, family. Whether it's weed, whether it's cigarettes. Imagine, there's over 7,000 chemicals in one cigarette. You only ever hear about nicotine. Nicotine is one of the lightweight ones compared to some of the other poisons that they deliberately put into the tobacco to mess up human beings. You're dealing with a scientist of death. So, please, family, get clean. Get clean. The cleaner you get, the more healthy you will be. You will find that when you're clean, things of dirt can't contaminate you. That's why you sterilize the instrument before the operation, because germs can't cling to clean things. Jesus walking among the lepers and not getting leprosy, it's not talking about a man walking in a leper colony. It's not like that. It's just that the man was so clean that dirt, when they're saying, oh, you were born of fornication, that couldn't cling to him. And they're saying to Minister Farrakhan, oh, you're a racist. That's dirty. They just chuck some dirt. It don't stick to the minister. You're an anti-Semite. It can't stick. You're a racist. You're a bigot. You're a hater. It don't stick. The man remains clean. 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 But if he was dirty, when you would see him, he would look shifty. He wouldn't be able to come out. You understand? But you see the minister, you see that smile. Despite all the dirt. And guess what? If you continue on this road, dirt's going to be thrown at you. You got to be clean. The dirt can't stick. What will stick is that which is clean. And you will gather all of this health and wealth. And despite what the enemy plans, Allah plans. And Allah is the best planner. And He's given us the blueprint and the plan. All we got to do, we don't have to make nothing up. All we have to do is execute what we've been given. And stop making excuses. There is no excuse after you know. And today, maybe you don't like it, maybe you don't think so, but I'm telling you, your little brother, I'm not the teacher, I'm a little student. But I guarantee you, something I said today, has changed something in you, in that you may not have known it before, but now that you know it, watch and see what happens when you try to continue in that deaf style. You will be ill affected, beloved, because after knowledge comes, when truth comes, falsehood vanishes, and falsehood is forever a vanishing thing. Thank you for listening. May Allah bless you as I greet you. Assalamu alaikum.